Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of True Believers here on the Fandom Podcast Network. We've got quite a show for you this episode. We are going to be covering the entire season 1 of Ironheart, the latest addition to the Disney Plus world of the MCU. But you know what? I can't talk about an MCU show alone. I got to have a proper crew with me to do it. And I've got a great one here with me tonight because, first of all, joining us, he is my brother from another mother, the co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network. And I don't think he's had any biological implants put in before this podcast, so I think I'm safe. It is the one and only Mr. Kevin Reitzel.
What's going on? True Believers fan here in the house. Excited. Now, Kyle, I have to ask you regarding Ironheart here. If you had one wish, what would it be? And if you watched the first episode of Ironheart, you should know the answer.
Well, yeah, except I know the consequences of those wishes, so I'm staying far away from you with those right now.
The answer is a night with Thor and his hammer.
Well, there's always that, and but there is somebody else here who's going to bring in some weight, and who knows, she might already have Thor's hammer because she is the queen of movie food. She is the one and only Lacee Adderhold. You are muted, Miss Lacee.
I'm doing it again. Hello.
She's just getting it out of the way early, which that's fine. Yes. So just a reminder to everybody out there too, you are watching True Believers on the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel. If you're watching the video, if you're listening to the audio, great too. You can find us on all those major podcast catchers. But if you are watching on YouTube and you want to check out all of our podcasts, especially audio versions, scan that QR code on your screen. It'll take you to our homepage where we have all of our history of wonderful podcasts and hopefully give you a little something to feed your ears. But tonight, guys, we are talking about Ironheart, the latest addition to the MCU on the Disney Plus side. This show has had an interesting history. It's been delayed a few times. This is a character that was spun out of a MCU film, Wakanda Forever. We weren't quite sure if we were actually going to ever get this show, to be honest with you. Ryan Coogler produced it. It finally came out. They dropped it out in a weird way, too, with 3 episodes at a time. So that's why we are covering the season as a whole here. We feel it's a little bit easier to talk about. We're going to have some thoughts tonight. It's going to be a very interesting show. We're going to have a little fun. We're going to have some ideas and some opinions. But I think it's going to be a very interesting ride. As long as nobody makes any side deals during the podcast, I think we're going to be good. But guys, it's always a fun time here at the Fandom Podcast Network. And you know what? One of the interesting things about Ironheart, it was a character who a lot of people had interest in coming out of Wakanda Forever. They introduced the character of Riri Williams, who was created in the Marvel Comics as kind of a younger version of Iron Man. Here we have a little bit of different story with that because of just how things have developed in the MCU. So let's get into some interesting conversations regarding Ironheart. And of course, you know what? This is the MCU True Believers podcast. And Kevin, we do things a certain way here if you want to let people know how we might do that.
Well, yeah, just like in the MCU, we have phases like the MCU does. So phase 1, we have plot description, first reactions, and cast comments. And then phase 2, we got trivia and Easter eggs and maybe some cameos. Phase 3, we got the plot analysis, ties to the MCU and comics, and maybe an article review. And then in phase 4, we close out with our final review and any predictions that we see going forward with this series or characters.
Is the Tesseract, I see it over there by your shoulder there, Kevin. Is it powered up and ready to go?
I'm not going to grab it right now because if you're watching the video, you'll see that Baby Deadpool is playing with it right now. And so I'm going to let Baby Deadpool, because Baby Deadpool is fierce, so we got to watch out.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a safe thing, but we'll find out before this podcast is over. With that, let's get into phase 1 of True Believers. Okay, guys, it's time for a little plot description here on True Believers of Ironheart. We got a few things here. First, just a general overview. IMDb plot description is basically genius teenager inventor Riri Williams creates the most advanced suit of armor since Iron Man. Now, if we go by the wiki plot description, following the events of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, MIT student Riri Williams returns home to Chicago where she becomes entangled with the enigmatic Parker Robbins, also known as the Hood, discovering secrets that pit technology against magic and setting her on a path of danger and adventure. Now, as I said earlier, guys, we are covering the whole season of this episode of True Believers and of Ironheart. So we're going to just do a quick rundown of each episode, maybe give a quick few thoughts, and then you kind of get our overall thoughts when we get to the end. And with that, let's get into episode 1, Take Me Home. Riri Williams is expelled from MIT for selling her work to other students to plagiarize and takes her new suit of armor home to Chicago, where she is still grieving the deaths of her best friend, Natalie Washington, and stepfather, Gary, from a drive-by shooting. Riri reconnects with Natalie's brother, Xavier, and is recruited by John to join a gang of thieves led by his cousin, Parker Robbins, known as the Hood. Narrowly escaping a gas-filled elevator as her first test, Riri agrees to take part in the gang's next 3 heists for the money she needs to improve her suit, as promised by Parker, who is in possession of a mysterious cloak. At home, Riri lashes out at her mother, Ronnie, over the loss of their loved ones and maps her own brain to create a built-in AI for her suit, but her unprocessed grief results in a digital recreation of Natalie. Guys, this was kind of our welcome back to Riri Williams in this first episode. So just give me a couple of thoughts each on what you thought of this first episode of Ironheart. Kevin, I'm going to start with you.
It was a good setup. I did not go back and watch Wakanda Forever, but I do remember liking her character and her introduction. And, the superhero kind of calling Chicago home was neat. I like that. I like some of the character introductions as well. And the reason why she is having trouble in the first place, which is funding her research. Her brain is too expensive, basically. And she's getting expelled from MIT for reasons that we learn from. And she wants to be able to continue her research, but she can't afford it. She's not a billionaire, she says.
What about you, Lacee? What was just the first episode?
I did go back and watch Wakanda Forever today. I watched the whole series the other day, and I realized that I really needed to watch Wakanda Forever to get some reference, because I did not remember the character being the way the character is. In Wakanda Forever, she's a sarcastic, street smart kid who kind of got the golden ticket by, doing this MIT project. And she had a little bit of humor. She had some sarcasm. And I really enjoyed her character. I really was looking forward to more from her. And in the first episode of this, you find out that she's kind of cast as like just angry and grumpy all the time, and nothing is right. And I kind of was a little bit unimpressed, I guess, with how they have kind of readjusted her attitude. I guess I don't know. I will say that the only 2 things I wrote down for episode 1 were, number 1, it is irresponsible for the school to kill the program when she was in the air. Like that's a lawsuit. She should have gotten that, should have happened, and then she should have been able to sue them for like attempted murder. I'm just saying. And then the second thing, because I had no idea what was going on with Red Hood, I was very confused. I wrote, is the Red Hood enchanted or something? The room he stores it in looks like a sauna with overkill.
Interesting.
So yeah, those were the 2 things that I took away from episode 1.
Now, what we should clarify too for the listeners and viewers is that Kyle is more known about through the MCU with comics, so he knows more about the history. Where Lacee and I we're watching these characters for the first time in the MCU, which is, for sometimes people forget, is the Marvel Cinematic Universe, TV and movies. So that's only our knowledge. Yeah. We're taking this at firsthand of what they're feeding us.
Yeah.
Just my quick impressions of the first episode. I like the fact that they set it in Chicago, and they had to go to Chicago, getting a new city involved, especially Chicago. I'm a big fan of that city. I thought it was some interesting takes from where she was at the end of Wakanda Forever to now. I think the biggest problem I had with the first episode was it was relying on the viewers to have a sense of certain things that happened in the comics, I think a little too much to go for the ride. And they did set up stuff, but they also didn't. I don't think they necessarily gave everybody just enough to kind of hook into the show. So they were really relying, I think, on people grabbing the second episode. Lacee, real quick.
Yeah, as someone who hasn't read the comics, what did they set up that I didn't get? Like, well, what were the?
That's what I'm saying. They didn't do enough setup in the first episode, unless you had read.
Okay, but nothing
had an understanding. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Which is why you get these shows dropping more than one at a time for the first premiere, because they don't want people going, what's going on? And they want to answer some questions in the next episode or two.
Unless it's Moon Knight, when they drop everything one at a time and you have no idea what's going on until like the 7th episode.
Yeah, that's true. Mr. Reitzel, would you care to fill people in on episode 2?
All right, episode 2, called "Will the Real Natalie Please Stand Up?" Struggling to come to terms with the AI Natalie, Riri meets Parker's gang, hacker Slug, fighters Jerry and Raw's Blood, and pyrotechnician Clown, the knife-wielding John, as they target TNNL, a company converting Chicago's freight tunnels into a private highway at the expense of local communities. Riri blackmails Joe McGillicuddy, a black market arms collector in Evanston, for parts to complete her suit, while Natalie is discovered by Ronnie. The heist is nearly derailed when Natalie reconnects to Riri's suit, but they successfully sabotage TNNL, allowing Parker to extort the CEO into placing the gang on the company's payroll. Natalie freezes when held at gunpoint by a guard, and Parker intervenes. Bending the path of his own bullet, Natalie warns Riri to be wary of Parker's powers, which leaves sinister marks spreading across his body.
So, guys, episode 2 thoughts. Lacey?
Okay. The shot that showed him bending the bullet, because it was directly over her shoulder, and it almost, it kind of like all but nicked her shoulder as it went by. I really thought that was going to come back later in a video or something, and someone was going to accuse her of like using some sort of mechanics on her suit to kill this person. And then it didn't happen. And I was like, okay, well, they just left that in the wind. The other thing I have written down is singing in the car was hilarious when she is in the car with Han Solo. Alden Aaron, I can't pronounce his
Alden
name.
Ehrenreich, yes.
Ehrenreich, okay. When they were in the car singing, that was absolutely hilarious. That was the only thing that I absolutely loved about that episode.
Kevin, what about you? Your thoughts on episode 2?
I also love the introduction of Alden Ehrenreich getting back into Disney's hands. I like that because I am a huge fan, and I will stand up for the movie Solo anytime and everywhere. It's becoming probably my favorite of the Disney films. Right there next to Rogue One. Absolutely love Alden, and I've seen him in some other stuff I like, so it's great. So I like that. And the other thing that really stood out to me, I actually thought this was a cool idea of using the underground railroads, whether, non-working anymore, as an underground highway. I thought that was a cool concept. Kind of wish that was done in a movie instead, because that would have been fun to see on the big screen. But this is where you see the crew basically starting to extort, and set up ways to fund their nefarious means, which soon come to fruition.
Yeah. For me, with the second episode, it was all about seeing Alden Ehrenreich. And again, just with a little bit of knowledge of comics, I kind of had a feeling where they were going to go with his character. I'm a big fan of Alden Ehrenreich. I was glad to see him get in this. I didn't even realize he was part of this show, so that was a very nice surprise for me as well. Again, they were moving the plot a little bit more forward. I did like the whole heist scene. I thought that was done very well. I'm going to just say a quick shout out to what the character that started pulling me into this show, especially in this episode 2, was Anthony Ramos as the Hood. I think he's a very phenomenal actor, and his charisma was starting to pull me in. But it was also around this time that I was starting to have a certain thoughts about the show, which I'll get into once we've covered all the episodes. That I just feel like they continued on. That it's going to be something I want to bring up as a point later. But guys, let's move forward and talk a little bit about episode 3. We in danger, girl. John reprimands Riri and Clown for touching Parker's cloak, the source of his powers, and the gang targets Heirloom, a Argitech company whose innovations in harming small farmers. Stuart Rampage Clark, who Riri replaced in Parker's gang, is murdered, leading her to seek help from Joe, who is revealed to be Zeke Stain, son of Obadiah Stain. Zeke warns Riri against repeating Obadiah's mistakes and gives her a sample of biomesh skin to fool Heirloom's security system. During the heist, as Parker attempts to extort the CEO, Hunter Mason, Riri cuts off a piece of the cloak to analyze, but triggers the security system, trapping the gang as the facility fills with carbon dioxide. Parker kills Mason and escapes with the others, while Riri is caught and attacked by John, who admits to killing Stewart on Parker's orders. Losing Zeke's biomesh, Riri is rescued by Natalie, leaving John to suffocate. A distraught Parker nearly renounces the cloak, but receives a vision implicating Riri for John's death. Kevin, your thoughts on episode 3?
Now it's all about the cloak. You're wondering what type of material is it? Is this like Doctor Strangey type stuff? You know, what happens if someone tries to cut a piece off Doctor Strange's cloak? What are you going to get from this? This is where
by the cloak.
Yeah, I know, pretty much, right? The cloak won't be having it. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting. The heist and everything was interesting to watch too. But this is when I was kind of starting to get some feelings of like, okay, I kind of see what's happening with this show now, and it's not quite where I wanted it to go. Leave it at that for now.
Lacey?
Okay, so first of all, I was really bummed that they killed Stewart. Like, I love that actor. He's fantastic.
I know, right? I love that guy.
He's so hilarious. Eric, I'm bad with names today, but he's awesome, and he's so funny, and he's just got he's got a charisma that you don't find. And because of him being in the first episode, I really thought there was going to be a little bit of humor. I really thought there was going to be a little bit of like, fun in it. This episode,
Eric Andre is his name.
Eric Andre, yeah.
Very funny guy.
So good, so funny. But this is the episode where it kind of seals the tone of the show. Once she left John in the container to suffocate and die, there's no going back from that. And that's where I was really, because until that point, I was really hoping that at some point in time there would be, because up until this, I'm like, wow, there are really no likable characters in this. Every character in this is just bad, like no likable characters, no good guys. I really thought that, being that she's the lead of the show and she's trying to take up Tony Stark's mantle, at least she would be trying to do good. And this kind of sealed the deal where, like, once you hit that whole murder button, you're done. Like, you've lost me altogether. I know that it was a kill or be killed situation. I get it. But she was the one who was very lax in her decision-making process to take that piece in there with her, to try and, cut the cloak. Like, why would she do it there? I mean, I understand that she had her reasons, but that's just, it felt like her 19-year-old, inexperienced self was coming through. Like, she's great with tech, but she just didn't think it through. And that caused a whirlwind of things. Everyone got trapped. John ends up dead at her hand. And, Zeke ends up getting pinched for the death of other people because she left the piece in there. Didn't even notice it was gone.
Yeah.
The only thing I have to say about this one, I said, oh no, not Rampage. And then I wrote, also, suffocation is a bummer way to go.
That is true. But things take an interesting turn when we get to episode 4, because we start getting a little bit more involved with some magic. So, Kevin, would you care to give us the plot synopsis of episode 4, Bad Magic?
Yes. Bad Magic. Lying to the gang, Riri fears retribution from Parker while the biomesh is traced to Zeke, who is arrested and turns against her. Riri's paranoia leads Ronnie to seek help from her friend Madeline Stanton, a former Kamartaj trainee, and Madeline's daughter Zelma. Examining the fragments of the cloak, the Stantons determine it is a dangerous artifact from the dark dimension that may be influencing Parker. And Ronnie shares her frustrations about Riri never opening up to her. Unable to find a way to destroy the cloak, Riri has a panic attack, and Natalie summons Xavier, who is horrified by Natalie, emulating his late sister, and demands Riri delete the AI. Hurt, Natalie departs with the suit, while the gang breaks Zeke out of jail and assists him in planting himself with bionic enhancements. Revealing that Riri is responsible for John's death, Parker sends the gang to kill her.
Okay, I want to kick off my thoughts on this because there was an aspect of this episode I really enjoyed, and that was incorporating the magic in and bringing in the character of Zelma, because I'm familiar with this character from the comics, from a book called Strange Academy. I really like this character, and I really like the actress who played this character. And I think she brought a little bit of fun into the show that was desperately needed at this point. And I liked how they were starting to develop the tech and the magic and the contrast between them, and how really they need to intertwine them together. And I really like what they did with that episode, and bringing in these characters, tying even some things into Doctor Strange with mention of Comatage and things of that nature. So I this was an episode I actually enjoyed. But Lacee, what did you think of this episode?
I wrote down instead of a self-fulfilling prophecy, it was a self-sustaining prophecy. Because as soon as you find out that he's Obadiah Stane's son, you realize that he's going to be the bad guy. Now, I just assumed that from not having read any comics or anything like that. But I also, this is the beginning of Angela Barnes's section. So the first three were directed by Samantha Bailey. The second three were directed by Angela Barnes. So the first three, Samantha Bailey, she had directed previously like Dear White People and Little Brown Girls. And so and there are some interesting things that I recognized in her directing style. Angela Barnes has previously directed episodes of Atlanta and Will Trent. And I did notice as well, directing stylized directing choices for each director. I think that's probably why they dropped them 3 and 3, because it was the two different directors. I will say that I dug the shaving of the head because I think that he looks better. Zeke looks better with the shaved head. I wanted there to be, because of the magic, as soon as the magic came into it, and just because of the history that we have with the magic and No Way Home, I really was thinking, oh, okay, so we can roll back that whole murder thing. We can back up, and like, she's not going to be a bad guy. She can take responsibility and be like, oh, I can't believe that happened. We use the magic and kind of do something like we did in No Way Home and not be a bad guy. I did not get that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Kevin?
So when Lacee was talking about how there's mostly unlikable characters and we're having trouble rooting for even our lead at this point because of, I was having a discussion with my wife where I have trouble watching TV shows where you see people in every episode, or if it's a movie, continuously making horrible decisions, and it just gets worse and worse and uncomfortable, you know. And so I couldn't finish Kaylee Cuoco's series, Flight Attendant, and some other things. It just gets worse and worse. There's just nothing to enjoy about the show. And how I couldn't finish The Studio recently because it was just about horrible movie decisions and people making stupid decisions. It was just, I couldn't finish it. And this feeling I'm kind of getting with this show right now. But I found myself the only likable characters are the witches right now for me. And I love the introduction with them. I thought they were great. And I just want to give a shout out to Cree Summer, one of my favorite character actors and also very successful voice actor. Cree, of course, we know Kyle from a Different World TV series, you know, the Cosby Show spinoff, but also she was the voice of Penny from Inspector Gadget, and among other many, voice acting as well. And to me, the standout too was Zelma, as you mentioned earlier, Kyle. I didn't know anything about it, but Regan Aaliyah as Zelma was great. I loved her big black glasses. I was kind of crushing on her a little bit, but I loved her style. I loved her spunk. And right now, I'm like, I love these witches. This is great. I love that there's a group of witches helping out Riri.
I just want to say this too on the Cree Summer. Great call, Kevin. If you look at Cree Summer's IMDb, her voice acting credit list is just mind blowing as far as what
it's extensive. Yeah. Yeah. But it was nice to see her in front of the camera again. I almost didn't recognize her. It was her voice.
Yeah, it had been a while.
Why do I know that voice? Why do I know that voice?
Well, let's get into episode 5. Karma's a glitch. Slug captures Natalie and the suit while Riri meets with Zelma, who believes the cloak came from Dormammu. Ambushed by the Blood siblings and Clown, Riri fights them off and tells Clown that John killed Stuart. Natalie breaks free, but is still angry with Riri, who is attacked by a bionically enhanced Zeke. He dismantles Riri's suit but spares her life, and Riri turns to her mother for help. Zeke and Clown lie that Riri is dead as the gang turns on Parker for having Stuart killed, and he fires them all. Parker takes control of Zeke's upgraded body to break into the home of Parker's wealthy father, Arthur Robbins, who has a controlling interest in the company he targeted and forces him to sign over everything at gunpoint. Reconciling with Ronnie, Natalie, and Xavier, Riri builds a new suit in Gary's garage using the car they were restoring. Zelma's powers the suit with magic, but Natalie is deleted in the process. Okay, guys. Kevin, your thoughts on this key episode before we get to the finale?
Do we now say the name out loud, Kyle?
Nope. We're gonna save that for one more episode.
Okay. All right. Okay. We'll get into that. Okay. So the things that I like, the setting of the garage. I love the car and the parts being, eyed for the suit and stuff like that. The trauma that Riri's feeling with losing Natalie and was it her father to the drive-by shooting and stuff like that. I like that they're getting real with these characters, but it's also a bummer, and the whole stuff with the cloak consuming Parker it's one of those things where I'm trying to remember in the MCU where someone who has to keep their powers is getting terminally tortured by, if you want the powers, you're going to get tortured by it. And at the top of my head, I can't remember if that's a thing. And I'm just wondering, okay, is this guy a sustaining villain? Yeah, Lacey?
That was Mads Mikkelsen's character in Doctor Strange.
Okay, so it's obviously, thank you for reminding me of that.
And they talk about his character when she.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm wondering, okay, is this a one and done villain here, or are we going to get more? And I was just kind of like, okay, my hunches of where this was going was cemented in this episode, and it wasn't necessarily a good feeling on my end.
Lacey, what were your thoughts?
Big fights, building the suit from the car. Really? That's what I wrote down. Okay, so first of all, the car was in Wakanda Forever, okay? And it was, beat to... I mean, it was in a huge accident, and Namor, murdered it, right? I get it. Anyway, so then in the beginning, she says that she sold the car for money so she could build a suit. But then the mom says, oh, I heard when you said you were coming back, I bought it back. If mom had the money to buy it back, why didn't she just give her money to buy the parts to make it... Okay, and then you have this whole scene where she's sitting there for 37 times. They show her using the thing to move the one piece to bend the one shoulder blade or whatever, and you're just like, oh my gosh, do something else. I just don't. And with the whole thing where she's like, I don't think that tech's gonna cut it. Magic, I might need to fight magic with magic. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Let's add some magic to it. But they do a spell or two or whatever. And I mean, obviously we'll talk about this next episode, but that magic doesn't do anything. Anyway, we'll go to the... Yeah. Next.
Okay. I see where you're going with this, Lacey. Yeah. I get you.
Well, Kevin, will you close us out with the final episode, episode 6? Oh,
all right.
Real quick, yeah. Lacey.
I'm sorry. I do have to say one thing. I do love the casting of the younger Riri and her stepdad.
That was good.
The dad is one of my favorite characters from Chicago Fire. Sorry, not Chicago Fire. Chicago PD. He's fantastic. Love him. He's awesome. And I loved the scene. I did love the scene where they were dancing, and that was very sweet.
I did like the music going this far in the episode as well. I just want to give a shout out before I forget. The music in this series was great.
Yeah.
All right. Episode 6. The past is the past. In a flashback, Parker attempts to rob Arthur's mansion with John and is approached by Mephisto. Mephisto? What? Mephisto.
Mephisto.
Should we say it again? Mephisto?
Mephisto.
Saying it right. All right. So that name has finally come back to play. All right. Or actually, no. Finally making an appearance to play in the MCU. Mephisto, who offers to help him achieve his desire for power, respect, and wealth. Accepting the deal, Parker is given Mephisto's cloak. In the present, Parker accuses Mephisto of not fulfilling their bargain, and Mephisto offers more power to Parker, can retain the cloak. Unable to recreate Natalie, Riri ignores her family and friends' advice and goes to Parker's hideout, fighting a reluctant Zeke before freeing him from Parker's control. Fully corrupted by the cloak, Parker battles Riri and appears to gain an upper hand. But Riri dupes him with a hologram and takes off his cloak, leaving him desperate and powerless. Mephisto offers Riri her own deal, which she accepts on the condition her loved ones are left alone. Later at the garage, Natalie appears restored to life, and Riri hugs her as the marks of Mephisto spread across Riri's skin. In a mid-credit scene, Parker asks Zelma for help with some magic.
Okay, so I'm going to hold all my thoughts till I give my thoughts on the season overall. So, because I have several things to say here, but Lacee, your thoughts on this finale?
Well, I mean, so she just officially became a bad guy. I mean, that just... I was so excited after Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I was so excited that we were going to have, like, there was so much that we could do with all. I wanted so much for the, diversity and inclusion when it came to kind of the next set of things for the DCEU. We had a lot of girl power coming up, a lot of young girl power. We had Riri Williams. We had, Hawkeye's daughter. We had, we had Cassie from Ant-Man, Ant-Man's daughter. We had a lot of girl power. We had a lot of young and ready to go women that I was so excited to see some of these characters. And now it's like, well, she's a bad guy. Okay. Oh, well. I gotta say that the one thing I wrote down for this was Sacha Baron Cohen. Boo. I do not like him. He is the only actor that I can say, like, you know what? I just don't like him. I don't like how he reminds me of Andy Kaufman, who I didn't like. And I'm sure that if I said that to him, he would find it to be a huge compliment, because people who love Andy Kaufman love Andy Kaufman. I'm just not one of them. So I don't mind giving him the compliment and saying, like, I don't like him. I don't have Bruno. I don't have Borat. Like, I feel like everything he does is very niche and very like, he's like I don't know. He reminds me of like an unlikable Andrew Dice Clay. Like, Andrew Dice Clay is funny. He makes fun of everybody, but he's funny about it, and he doesn't hold anything back, but he does it for fun. But I feel like when Sacha Baron Cohen sends somebody up, he's just like mean about it, and he makes fun of people. It's not like funny poking, ha ha ha. It's like,
not a fan of him.
Yeah, not a fan.
Okay.
I do have all of the Madagascar films, but other than that, nope. Just don't like him. And I don't think that the Mephisto thing, when he first said that, I was like, wait a minute, isn't that Jake Gyllenhaal's character and then I was like, oh no, that's not. Like,
you're talking about the Spider-Man film.
Yeah. From No Way Home. Far From Home. And then when they were talking about Dormammu, because from what I remember, and I haven't seen the first Doctor Strange in a minute, but Dormammu, I know he was the Eternal, right? So, or the whatever it's called.
He was the dark sorcerer that Doctor Strange had to fight.
But wasn't he a Celestial?
No, he was not.
Okay, well, I thought he was, and so I was like, oh, so maybe this is going to be like, another skull in the universe somewhere, like they had in Guardians of the Galaxy or whatever. I was like, okay, so they're trying to kind of bring this into the MCU, but the problem is, I don't know how they're going to bring this into the MCU when she's full on a bad guy. She has killed people. She has perpetrated fraud and extortion, and blackmail, and I just don't like it. No one in this is a good guy. No good guys.
Well, we're going to get into that here, but Kevin, give me your thoughts on this final episode of Ironheart.
Pretty much echo everything that Lacee just said. The young actress who plays Riri, what is her name? That is Dominique Thorne. She's a good actress. I've seen her.
She's fantastic. But I think
I liked her in Wakanda Forever. Didn't like her in this. She's not a likable character. I don't like the turn, like Lacee said. I don't like someone who you're supposed to expect to join the Avengers or Young Avengers and go through this stuff here. I'm tired of the everything has to be dark, and someone dies type of situation, and a lot of mental trauma has to happen. I'm getting kind of tired of this, which is why Hawkeye with Haley Steinfeld was so much better, and she was fun, and she was a likable person, and she was someone that you rooted for, and you can't wait to see her in Young Avengers or Avengers. I'm now not excited for Riri, especially the way that they ended this episode. Nothing in the first episode or what was kind of then going to happen soon after. But what was happening in the first episode with the introduction and from Riri in Wakanda Forever, I don't think it was anything like her character. It was unlike her character to do what she's going to do, especially with all the family values they set up through this whole entire thing, the flashbacks to when she was a kid, everything. For her to make this turn and to also be manipulated by Mephisto the way that the Hood was manipulated by Mephisto. She's smarter than that. I know she's smart in tech, but she's also smart in people. And the way that she was talking towards her family and stuff, she would have never have ever done this. And I get that they're doing this. And I find this even more frustrating because I don't know if we're going to get a second season of this to iron this out, so to speak. See what I said there? Then for her to finally turn good and realize the bad things that she's done with Mephisto. I don't want to see that in a freaking movie. No, that's a waste of my time and a waste of MCU time. So that's where I was with that. And Sacha Baron Cohen as Mephisto after all of this freaking time. Really? This was a surprise to me. I don't remember any rumors out there that he was supposed to play this character. If I did, I ignored it. I have no memory of this. Wrong casting choice. Not a fan of him either.
Okay, Lacee, real quick.
Yeah. So going with the darkness part of it, this is the first thing that I've seen in the entire 37 movies of the MCU, and then 40 million TV shows. This reminded me of Snyderverse DCU.
Oh my God! Right?
Dark.
Yeah.
the visuals were dark. The tone was dark. You kept thinking there was going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. Nope, it's a light, but it's a train. It's coming at you. It's coming for murder. And the other thing is that with Riri coming, and I understand that she's being manipulated by Mephisto. That's fine now. But when she killed John, she wasn't being manipulated by anybody. That was her decision, and she made that choice without any issues, without any crazy whatever happening with Mephisto. So if they're gonna walk that back, they're gonna have to go Anakin Skywalker level of why'd you kill all them kids? There's that's nope. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm gonna kick things off as far as just my overall thoughts on this season, because I am a very mixed bag on this. There are some parts of this that I really liked. Kevin, you mentioned the music. This show has a phenomenal soundtrack.
It does.
The music was great. I actually think for a TV show, the armor effects were very well done and looked very good. I also love the inclusion of Zelma and the magic. And I also think Anthony Ramos, who is supposed to be your bad guy, was actually very good in this show. And I think he's very much on the up and coming. I've liked him in everything I've seen him in, and I can't wait to see where his career is going to go. I think, too, I really dug Alden Ehrenreich as Stain, because that fits that character. And when they reveal that in here, it fit everything that was going on. And I really like the fact of how, yes, he was bad, but the real severe stuff he had, he wasn't in control of himself either. He was hacked, basically. So,
Yeah.
And that's where the problem comes in with this show. That Alden Ehrenreich, outside of some of the family members and Zelma and things like that, might be the most likable main character of this show. And that is a shame. Now, when I look at Riri Williams, the problem that I have with this is I think if they would have established the trauma she was going through in Wakanda Forever with the loss of her family members, it might help understand a little bit better of what she's going through in this show. The problem with Riri is this, and I watched some of the behind the scenes in the filming. Riri is a person who has been put in situations that are beyond her maturity. And yes, she is a tech wizard. She's highly intelligent. That doesn't necessarily mean she's fully life smart. I mean, come on. All of a sudden you're exposed to Wakanda and all of this, then you go back to your life at MIT and you don't have access to all of these things. And then we find out the trauma she's going through. I think the point that they were trying to do with Riri, and I'm saying trying, was to show a character who was very much in conflict with herself, did not make good decisions based off of trauma and just thinking she's the smartest person in the room when she necessarily isn't. And that leads to bad decisions. The problem with this is that in Riri's case, this is our hero. And she makes decisions that are horrible. And I mean, we're and decisions that will hopefully have some ramifications. You talk about the death of the one character. Let's remember that Natalie did kind of take over the suit and get her out of there too. So maybe it wasn't all Riri's decision there. Go back and rewatch that because Natalie does make a decision to get her out of there.
I watched it twice.
Yeah.
Look at her. Yeah.
As far as the Mephisto thing goes, it does actually make some sense in this aspect. Mephisto in Marvel is the devil and the god of lies, and he's a master manipulator. And so him manipulating Riri into this decision, and again, he even tricked her here. She just wanted the AI back, and all of a sudden she's got real life Natalie back. The question is going to be is how this is going to get resolved or portrayed going forward, if it even does, because I don't think there's going to be a second season of the show. I think we see Mephisto again because we have been waiting forever. And I think you don't cast Sacha Baron Cohen. I'm not a huge fan of him either, but I actually thought he was pretty good in his portrayal of Mephisto, depending on which direction they take it. And that's the question is what is going to come out of Ironheart, or is this just going to be a blip that doesn't mean anything? And as far as the show goes, I love the cast. I think the cast performances were very well done, but the script and what the directions they decided to make with the script were not well thought out. And it felt like they didn't pay attention to what had been done with Riri in Wakanda Forever before they brought her into this. And they didn't necessarily feel like they were staying true to the character. I have no problem putting the character through trials and tribulations and even ending on a cliffhanger like this. If you know you're going to have a season 2, or you know that Ironheart is going to be in another thing where they can address this, but we don't know about that right now. So as far as the season goes, in ways it exceeded my expectations, in ways it disappointed me. So is it the worst thing Marvel has done for Disney Plus? No, it's not even close to that. But is it the best thing? No, this falls very much in the middle, and I think it really depends on your perspective from this. But Lacey, I want your thoughts on the season as a whole.
Okay. One thing that I have a struggle with is that they have given her this angry attitude. And I feel like that is a stereotype that is not, I can't speak to the stereotype because anyway, Peter Parker was indirectly responsible for his uncle's death in 2 iterations of this of the character of Spider-Man, and partially responsible for his aunt's death in the current iteration of Spider-Man. Violent deaths. Okay. Riri Williams it's literally the same type of trauma. There was violent death of a parent And just the fact that she's angry and upset and frustrated all the time, as opposed to Peter Parker, who is portrayed as this like upbeat, happy-go-lucky, like, I'm going to try and do the thing, and I know you don't want me to, but I'm going to try, and that kind of thing. And he's trying to do good, and he wants to do more, right? And he had Tony Stark as a figure to help him, even if he wasn't on site all the time. So I feel like there was for the younger crew, right? I mean, right now we've only seen Peter Parker as Spider-Man, and we've seen obviously his friends, but then Riri is kind of the first Avenger or Avenger adjacent person that we've seen. Hawkeye, that had Haley Steinfeld, but she was kind of a younger character. She was kind of a sidekick at that point. So I feel like these two young characters, they diametrically opposed them in attitude and in everything that they've done. Like, I just wanted her to be a good guy so bad. I was so excited for her to be the new Iron Man. I mean, to have a young female African-American Iron Man, that would have been amazing. As a good guy, that's a huge thing I really wanted that. I didn't get it. I'm very grumpy about it. I'll be fine.
Kevin?
I can see everything that Lacee's saying here, and I kind of feel the same when it comes down to it. I just the tone. I'm getting tired of these things that Lacee mentioned. There's these tones of trauma, and this is how you have to really feel a character. They have to go through this trauma, this dark trauma, and then to make the good turn and stuff like that. But it's becoming a trope that I'm really getting tired of, especially when they do it too much. And they did it with this one here, and it's kind of disappointing because you have some great actors and a concept that we were hoping to really see, but now I really don't want to see this character in this form going forward. And I don't want to see this redemption arc because I know what's going to happen, and I really don't care right now. The only thing that I care about is those witches, and I want the witches to team up with Agatha and her witches, and that would be fun. I want their own show. Let's put it this way. I'd rather right now at the tone of this end of the series, I'd rather see what happens to the other witches than Riri. Sad to say, but you guys did this show wrong. My opinion.
The only thing that I would say I would watch Riri in again. I mean, again, love all the actors. The actors are amazing. We didn't even talk about Anthony Ramos at all, really. Like, we brought him up.
We'll get to that here.
We'll get to the cast in a second.
But if they did like an alternate universe of her, I'd be okay with it. But I'm not this iteration. I'm not interested anymore. Bad guys. I'm done. Yeah.
Well, I think there's a lot of mixed thoughts about this, and you can see it on the internet. But let's talk about something else that I think we can all agree on this aspect of Ironheart. The phenomenal cast of Ironheart. This show had an amazing cast. Kevin?
I have a question to start this off, and it's something that you said, or maybe you said in passing, Lacee, because normally, Lacee, you don't watch these shows, these MCU shows all the way through. This is kind of a new thing for you. And what I was going to ask was that the reason why you did was because of a certain actor. Can you start off by mentioning who that actor was and why you did decide to watch this all the way through?
Well, I love Anthony Ramos. I've loved him. I mean, he's been in so many fun things. In the Heights was great. I've seen In the Heights several times in the theater, the theater, not in the movie theater, like actual like physical theater. And he was the person that made me want to go see that live. He's fantastic. He's been in so many fun things. And he always has, or he, up until recently, has had this like uplifting kind of outlook. And he's always got this like positivity going. Like I feel like he's got this charisma that's fantastic. And I was just thinking about a second ago, I can't remember the last thing I saw him in, but he was also a bad guy. What was he just in where he was a bad guy?
Well, he was kind of a bad guy in Twisters. He kind of made.
Oh yeah. He was kind of
he was the voice of Mr. Piranha in the Bad Guys sequel.
Yes,
the
but no.
show.
But in Twisters, in Twisters, he was we thought he was the good guy until it was kind of revealed that he was kind of the a-hole. Not a bad guy, but just misguided, right? And so I liked that character even, but when you kind of push him into this negative place, I do think that out of all the people, character-wise, I think that he's the one that might be able to get a redemption arc. Because from what it looked like, even though there was some like iffiness with the flashbacks, I feel like he was the one who was being controlled by Mephisto the most during doing all these things. So if he loses the cloak and he said, it was painful or whatever. So if the scars go away, maybe he could have a redemptive arc. But everybody else is just, they're bad guys with no powers. I mean, they're talented. Sorry, I'm back to characters. Actor-wise, I love the cast. I like everybody. Everyone has a great air. They have these great, and they work well together and they're fun. But I didn't like the story is the problem for me. So I feel like that might negate how I feel about some of the performances, because it's hard to like a performance that, even though you love the actor, the writing or I don't know, it's difficult. Yeah, I mean, I've seen almost every one of these people in other things where I really liked them, and any interviews that I've seen, or Jimmy Fallon or any of the talk shows and stuff, they're all just lovely people, and I'm just kind of bummed that I didn't like it. I really wanted to like it so much.
Kevin, your thoughts on the cast?
I want to give a shout out to Paul Calderon, who played the father that he obviously didn't care for, and he wanted to take over the house and eat all his food. He's a great character actor. One of my favorite roles he was in was some episodes of Miami Vice. He's in Pulp Fiction as well, and also one of my favorites, King of New York. I wanted more of him. I wanted more of a history of why he was unliked by his son, but a shout out to him. Overall, like the cast, they always cast these pretty well, with definitely the exception of Sacha Baron Cohen. And so, but I think that they did what they could with the story that was written. And Anthony Ramos was great. He was the bad guy from the beginning, and the way that he was the leader of this crime family, this up and coming crime family, was interesting, and he was very good at manipulating and playing to people's minds and hearts, and saying, "Oh, take the night off, you guys deserved it," stuff like that. He was doing that, but yet still pulling the strings from behind and doing that. But I felt that the cast did what they could, and I just kind of feel bad for Dominique Thorne with the effort that she put in. I don't know what she was promised, if she was promised another series or what, to flesh out what was happening. So I don't know what's going on there, but she was good for what she could do.
I just want to say I thought this cast was phenomenal. This is going to be one of those times where we look back at this show and go, wow, what a cast, in about 5 more years.
Yeah.
So the cast was one of the selling points for me on this, and one of the things that I really enjoyed. But let's go ahead and shift into phase 2 and talk a little trivia and Easter eggs for Ironheart. Okay, I dug into some MCU Marvel comic history and got a few Easter eggs. Mr. Wright, so care to help me out with some of these?
All right. A common Easter egg found in Marvel movies is when a character is assigned to a specific number. This number is typically not random. It often references something significant about the character's past. In case of Riri, her student ID contains a code 30216RW, which directly refers to her first appearance in the comics. She debuted in Invincible Iron Man Volume 3, issue 7, which was released on March 2nd, 2016. The number 216 on her student ID serves as a subtle nod to her origins.
Up next, while talking about Riri's late stepfather Xavier, played by Matthew Elam, they mentioned that working on that trash Barracuda, which is a nod, of course, to Riri's 1972 Plymouth Barracuda that we see her with in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which Okoye notably drives in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Mr. Reitzel.
All right. While talking to Natalie, Riri mentions androids, aliens, and wizards, which is what Sam Wilson calls the big three in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, that was one of the better moments in that. Up next, though, guys, a little more tie into Black Panther Wakanda Forever. In episode 4, when Natalie suggests that they call Shuri for help, Riri mentions causing a war between land and sea, which is a nod to the Black Panther Wakanda Forever, namely the arrival of Namor, and kind of gives a reason why we don't see her reaching out to Shuri for help financially or anything like that. So, Mr. Reitzel?
In episode 5, while meeting with Riri, Zelma not only mentions Dormammu, who has been a prominent figure in the Doctor Strange movies, but also, how do you pronounce this, Kyle? Calculus, thank you, who was in Doctor Strange and played by Mads Mikkelsen.
And one of my favorites, because they had a little fun with this as well. When Riri crashes outside of White Castle in her iron suit, you can see the letters on the sign she lands on spell ouch.
Can I just say this made me really I forgot to mention, this is one of the things I did like about this as well, is White Castle mentioned. I love White Castle ever since, Harold
and Kumar.
Yeah. I went to White Castle after that movie, like a year later, and fell in love with it. And I love their soda machines, especially the cream soda that they have off the soda machines there. So, yeah.
Mr. Reitzel, you care to handle this next one?
All right. Riri making a deal with Mephisto is currently going to become super important down the road. But him reversing death and bringing back Natalie just has me thinking that Rio/Death Aubrey Plaza is not going to be happy about this. As she said multiple times, death can't be cheated. Yeah, what the hell? Kyle?
Maybe Aubrey Plaza is going to show up. We'll have a little interesting conversation with Mr. Mephisto. But
yes,
that's going to wrap up the Easter eggs in trivia. So we're going to move on into phase 3 and talk about some of the connections to the comics. Talking about Ironheart, and guys, we kind of hit a lot of the plot analysis earlier. There's a few things I just want to hit with you guys. I think one of the more interesting aspects of Ironheart was the magic and technology issue that they were having. And what I thought was interesting was you had the Hood, who was addicted to his magic. And I think you had Riri, who was addicted to her technology. And I think in some instances, those addictions are what drove them in different ways, but kind of led them still both down a dark path. And I was just kind of curious of what you guys thought about how they played the magic and technology in this series. Kevin, what do you think?
Can you repeat the last part, Kyle? You were cutting out.
I just wanted to say, what did you think of how they handled the balance between magic versus technology, and even blending them some?
That was one of the things I found interesting about the plot, because especially when Riri mentions that, okay, I gotta fight magic with magic, and that was one thing I did like. I was like, yeah, okay, this is a little step in the right direction, and this is something we've seen, of course, throughout the MCU, and now that we have magic as a full thing here, and wizards and stuff like that, it is something that I guess had to be done as well, since we got Mephisto here and the cloak, and doing dirty deeds done dirt cheap, so to speak. But yeah, I do like that they did incorporate that in here, but I don't know if I liked how it ended up.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Lacey, what do you think about that? How they handled kind of technology versus magic in this series?
Well, honestly, the magic that she used didn't do anything. Like, she made the new suit, everything. I mean, it didn't do anything. He beat the crap out of her, and the suit fell apart. Whatever. I think that there is,
and she used technology to fake him out to grab the cloak.
Right. And so it's not really, and honestly, it was kind of I do think using the oh my gosh, what is it where she was not really there? The hologram or whatever. I think the hologram was kind of like, oh, really? Okay, whatever.
You did not like the idea.
It felt kind of like it felt like the easy way out.
Gotcha.
I do think there's something to be said for the difference between. If I was still a film student, I would take this series and I would write a paper on the differences between addiction versus trauma response. Because I think that while Anthony Ramos's character did have an addiction to his cloak, I think that Riri's obsession with the suit was a trauma response to losing her stepfather and her best friend. And she almost says that. I mean, she says in as much as that. But I think that's the reason she just can't let it go. And I think that that's going to become more of a problem now that her best friend is back and alive, because she is going to double down or triple down on not letting her get hurt. And I think that's going to cause major problems if they go forward with that character, the character of Natalie, alive, real Natalie.
Well said.
Yeah,
I think so. I agree. Well, guys, I want to talk about this. This show had actually a lot of ties to the comics, but in a way that they changed things up. And I want to go through some of these things because I think it's important as far as how we might look at Ironheart as a series.
Okay.
So let me get into that here, starting with, of course, first, let's talk about Natalie's entrance and how it hints at her history and has ties to another ironclad hero. In the series, it is revealed that Riri Williams' best friend Natalie was killed, and Riri is still grappling with the trauma from this loss. When deciding on an AI system for her latest Ironheart suit, Riri developed a program that scanned her brainwaves, resulting in a representation of Natalie. When Natalie is revealed, she says, "Who else would it be?" This line references the comics where Ironheart's original AI was a holographic version of Tony Stark, who acted as a mentor figure even after his death. However, in the comics, Natalie eventually becomes Riri's AI, similar to the portrayal of the show. So I think that was kind of interesting that they pulled this in. Lacey? You're muted.
I wish that had happened. Like, if Tony had been there, maybe she wouldn't have gone down the dark road. I mean,
exactly.
I mean, if Tony's going to be there and calling her out, I mean,
Yeah.
Fine. Okay, continue. Sorry.
Okay, so up next, we have some Doctor Strange references. This show, initially perceived as primarily focused on technology, surprisingly delves into the mystic arts, featuring numerous references to Doctor Strange and his supporting characters. In her quest to counter magic with magic, Riri seeks assistance from her mother's friend's daughter, Zelma, who is a self-taught magician. Zelma theorizes that the hood originates from Dormammu, a character not seen since the 2016 Doctor Strange film, and the Master of the Dark Dimension. She also mentions Calculus, the evil wizard who has not appeared since that film, providing a nice callback for fans. Zelma herself is based on a character from the comics. She is a student of Stephen Strange and even possesses a jar of brain maggots, which is also directly taken from the source material. So if you are interested, there's a lot of talk of Strange Academy, which is a comic with Zelma in it and several other young magicians that might be put into a series. So that might be where we get more revisitation to magic in the MCU. But up next, and this is one of the bigger ones, Zeke Stane is taken from the comics. Another twist in the show was that the reveal of Joe McGillicuddy was actually Ezekiel Zeke Stane, the son of Obadiah Stane, who was formerly a mentor but turned into a villain in Iron Man. Like many characters in the MCU, Zeke Stane originated from the comics, where he shares a similar backstory. In the show, Zeke receives biometric upgrades that enable him to generate electricity, mirroring his abilities in the comics. His motivation for these enhancements in the comics is revenge on Tony Stark for his father's death. Although in the show, Zeke recognizes that his father was a villain and instead harbors resentment towards Riri for his imprisonment. And then this is where things get really interesting with the Hood's crew.
Interesting or weird, Kyle?
A little bit of both. So the Hood leads a crew of thieves who assist him in his criminal activities. The crew includes the Blood siblings who serve as Muscle, Slug, a hacker, and Rampage, a tech specialist. While these characters are inspired by their comic book counterparts, there are notable physical differences. And if you're watching on YouTube, I've got the pictures of how they were portrayed in the show up against their comic book counterparts. The Blood siblings are based on the Blood brothers, who are cosmic characters associated with Thanos, making them quite different from the grounded portrayal in the show. Slug is depicted as a large, obese drug lord based in Miami, Florida, and has collaborated with the Hood in the comics. In a significant departure from the source material, Slug is reimagined as a hacker in this show. Additionally, Stuart Clark, also known as Rampage, portrayed by Eric Andre, is drawn from the comics as a supervillain who typically uses an exoskeleton to enhance his physical abilities. However, this character is absent in the show.
Because they killed him off in the second episode.
Yeah, well, that too. So
big mistake. Huge.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the Hood a little bit, because Parker Robbins, of course, played by Anthony Ramos, is also a character straight from the Marvel Comics. He was introduced in the Hood issue #1 in 2002, and he's a well-known supervillain operating in New York City. He has been known to be affiliated with the Kingpin and the Thunderbolts. So, yeah, a lot of interesting things there. But lastly, too, I want to talk about the future of the Hood. Because in the mid-credit scene at the end of the final episode, the Hood, now without his hood, seeks assistance. He turns to Zelma requesting some hardcore magic and specifically asking for Supreme-like help. This is obviously a direct reference to the Sorcerer Supreme, the master of wizardry in the MCU. Currently, the Sorcerer Supreme is not Doctor Strange, but Wong. And that obviously was before the blip. This suggests that Anthony Ramos' character, Parker Robbins, will appear in a future project. While it hasn't been confirmed that Doctor Strange will make an appearance in Avengers Doomsday, he's likely to show up in some capacity. If not in that film, Avengers Secret Wars might be when the Hood finally seeks out what he desires. So a lot of directions going on here. Interesting ways they did this with the comics, but a lot of changes as well, too. I actually think in a lot of places the changes worked better in the show than in the comics as far as how they portrayed these characters. But I found this was one of the things I found interesting with Ironheart is they took a lot of liberties with this show, with these characters and adapting them. And I think that's one of the things that's interesting. Kevin?
What, for those of us that don't know the comics, what are you hearing the response from the people that are familiar with the comics, how the show has portrayed them? What have you heard?
It's been a mixed bag. People have liked certain things. Everything I'm hearing is everybody is loving Anthony Ramos as the Hood. He is the one that really came shining out of this. He did a great portrayal of the Hood. I think the problem with it is people are very mixed on the show, and I think people still haven't figured out their reaction to it, and especially when. Go ahead, Kevin. I was just going to say, especially when we are about to talk about our next point. But Kevin, I want you to get your thought out first.
I'm just wondering if this is a case of the villain overshadowing the hero in this case, and being a better version of the character than we expected. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
anyway,
that could very well be. Lacee, you look like.
Yeah, at this point, I think that Anthony Ramos is the only one that has a potential redemption arc. I mean, I think that the Hood messing with him and Mephisto messing with him is the only thing that makes me think that he might end up, I don't know enough about the character to know what his backstory, like more of his backstory, to know if he was actually a good guy before
He really wasn't. Okay, well,
then yeah. Also, the picture that you're showing of the Hood, it looks like
Ghost Rider.
Yeah, Ghost Rider having a Halloween costume, like maybe or something.
That was a point in the comics where Anthony Ramos, where the Hood was completely absorbed by the demon side.
Okay.
Okay. Well, guys, let's get things going here, and let's hit that Tesseract one more time in Interface 4. Now, Phase 4 is normally where we close out things, and we are going to do that. But I also wanted to include something in Phase 4 because we need to talk about Mephisto. Mephisto has been named and speculated since WandaVision, ladies and gentlemen. And it has become almost a running joke. And they finally dropped Mephisto in this series played by Sacha Baron Cohen. I think we've all kind of expressed our concerns about Sacha Baron Cohen in this, but I want to hit a little bit of things here because the highly anticipated character of the MCU was Mephisto, Marvel's version of Satan, made his on-screen debut in Ironheart. He was portrayed by none other than Sacha Baron Cohen, who had long been rumored to take on this role, and that there were a lot of rumors about that. People had seen him on set. They said there were a lot of things with that. In this series, Mephisto is revealed to be the mastermind behind Parker Robbins, also known as the Hood, and his actions throughout the storyline. When Mephisto introduces himself to Riri, he is disappointed to find out she has no idea who he is. However, the moment serves as a subtle nod to fans who are well aware of Mephisto's significance and have been eagerly awaiting his appearance in the MCU since he was teased in WandaVision 2021. Now, guys, just real quick before we have the Mephisto conversation, I don't know if you caught this, but this is something people have been talking about. When Mephisto stirs his coffee, you can see his true devil form reflected in the spoon instead of his human form. I don't know if you guys caught that during that scene or not, because it was really quick. But bringing in Mephisto is a big deal. This is a huge deal. Yes, we've had this whole thing with when are they bringing this character and how much are they going to tease, but to have this character now in the MCU could open the door to a lot of storylines. Mephisto is the devil of the MCU. He is the master manipulator. He buys people's souls. He makes deals with them. He has corrupted at times several prominent characters in the MCU, of course, redemption arcs in comics or ways to get out of the deal, things like that. He's even corrupted Spider-Man at one point. So Mephisto is a true, legitimate heavyweight badass. And I have a feeling we are definitely going to see more of Mephisto as we go along, but we finally have him here. I kind of wish it wasn't in this series, though. But I understand the connection with the Hood. Kevin.
Mephisto should not have been introduced in this series. Should have been teased or introduced in Agatha all along. I think with a show about a girl who knows tech, it should have been tech versus tech. And also, too, I felt like with the tease of Mephisto from early on, or maybe it's just fans wanting it. I don't know what you want to call it. He should have been introduced in the film as a teaser or something like that. For what I've learned from you, Kyle, and all the MCU fans out there, we've been expecting him to have a much bigger punch to an introduction than this. And it was a big letdown that they had to do it with this. Sacha Baron Cohen aside, maybe he will win me over if we see him again as this character. I'm glad he wasn't too Sacha Baron Cohen, if you get my drift and stuff. He was serviceable, I guess. But I feel like this was a letdown for an introduction for a major, major villain that fans have been clamoring for so long that they could have done it in a more of a cinematic way instead of on a Disney Plus TV series that we're not going to get a second season.
Lacey, your thoughts?
Yeah, your last sentence, Kevin, that's where I was going, is that if you're going to introduce a super villain, why would you introduce it in the last 3 minutes of a TV show where not everybody has Disney Plus? I haven't even seen Agatha all along. I just found out that Aubrey Plaza was a bad, weird witch. I don't know, or death or something. So people are struggling to keep up with all of the things, right? So for people who have made the decision to just not do the TV shows, just stick with the movies, that has become...
That's the majority.
Right. But that's the problem is that has become originally the way that Disney kind of went into the TV shows was these are supplemental things where you don't have to watch them, but if you do, you'll get little nuggets, little Easter eggs and stuff. Now Disney, it's like a money grab, right? Now you have to watch the TV shows on Disney Plus in order to have all the information you need to go into the next movie. That becomes problematic because there's so much that I haven't even seen. I mean, I got to go back and watch all kinds of stuff before the Doctor did whatever next. I don't even know what's coming out next.
Fantastic Four.
I mean, it seems aggressively.
Well, I'm about to counterpoint that to you, Lacey, because one of the things that Bob Iger has mandated, and because Fantastic Four started the next phase of the MCU, going forward, there was going to be less tie-ins with Disney Plus shows. They're going to be more of a standalone thing or their own thing. He wants to put the emphasis back on the films. And I think that's, you're going to start seeing less of these money grab kind of things that you're talking about with the MCU. You're going to see it more on theater. Again, prove it to me, but I think that's some of the direction you're having. And you bring up a good point, Lacee, because I want to talk about what is coming up in the future of the MCU, and that is just a short week, almost a week away from the night we're recording this. Fantastic Four is dropping, and this is one of the big movies of this month. There's a lot of stuff coming up with the MCU besides Fantastic Four. You have the animated series Eyes of Wakanda, you have the animated Marvel Zombies, and then later this year you have the live action Wonder Man, which does bring one of your favorites, Kevin, Trevor Flattery, back to the MCU from Iron Man 3, as he's going to play a mentor to the main character in Wonder Man.
Trevor, who?
He played the Mandarin in Iron Man 3.
Oh, okay. You're talking about Mr. Oscar winner. Gotcha.
Yes. Okay. So that will be a lot of fun. Ben Kingsley. Yeah, Ben Kingsley. That's right. Yes.
Okay.
That will be a lot of fun. But like I said, right around the corner is Fantastic Four. I think this is a huge movie for the MCU.
I'm going to pass on all the animated things. I'm done with those.
Yeah. I am very intrigued for Fantastic Four. I am looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with it.
I'm excited about that too.
Yeah. And Lacee, are you excited for Fantastic Four? You're on mute.
I'm interested to see how they're going to tie it in. I think it's going to be good. I think it's interesting that it's going to be in the 60s, which actually brings us back in time to, if you're going to watch them chronologically now, you'll watch Captain America, and then Agent Carter, and then Fantastic Four will fall into that before you get to Captain Marvel. So it'll be interesting to see how it falls chronologically.
It might be in the 60s, but it might not be truly that particular universe.
Yeah. It's futuristic 60s from another universe. Yeah.
And of course, looking ahead in the future, we have Avengers Doomsday, Spider-Man Brand New Day, which just started filming this week, I believe, actually. And of course, Avengers Secret Wars. And so there's a lot on the Marvel slate, and it's going to be interesting to see. And we'll, of course, be covering it here on True Believers on the Fandom Podcast Network. And I want to thank everybody for watching this episode of True Believers. We covered everything Ironheart. Yes, we had mixed emotions on it, but that's okay, because you know what? We like talking about it. We appreciate your thoughts, Miss Lacee.
My emotions were not mixed.
Yeah, well, I'm saying across the board.
I'm just messing. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. And of course, too, you can find.
Hold on. I think mine might have been mixed. Yeah,
yours were a little mixed. Mine are mixed.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt, Kyle.
Of course, too, again, scan the QR code on your screen if you want to hear all the great audio podcasts of the Fandom Podcast Network. We do a lot of great things around here. So yeah, and of course we are all over social media, including Blue Sky. We are on Facebook, we're on Twitter at FanPod Network. You can find us on Instagram, you can find us on Threads. You can find me, Kyle, on Twitter at AKyleW. You can also find me on Blue Sky at AKyleW. And on Instagram and Threads, you can find me at AKyleFandom. Kevin, where can people find you on the social medias?
You can find me at Spartan_Phoenix on all the socials, with the exception of Blue Sky. I'm at Spartan Phoenix.
And Lacee, I know you don't do the socials, but I know people can find you on Letterboxd.
Yeah, I am on Letterboxd. I actually deleted my Threads and my Blue Sky the other day. And also Discord.
Cool.
And coming up, I'm going to be volunteering at DragonCon, so come by the Military Sci-Fi Track and say hi. Hello.
Yay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, you have been watching the True Believers MCU podcast. Wait a second. Something doesn't feel right here, guys. I'm getting a weird energy. Is something happened with the Tesseract over there, Kevin?
Yeah, baby Deadpool started licking it like a lollipop.
Oh God, that's done it, guys. This is not a multiverse crossover. I think we're getting invaded by a totally another comic book company, because next week, Wednesday, the 23rd of July at 7 p.m. Eastern Live, True Believers is getting taken over by DC. We are covering Superman here on True Believers, and things will never be the same again. here on the True Believers podcast. This is one of the biggest movies of the summer. We've all seen it. We are doing a special live edition of True Believers to talk about Superman. I am very excited. I loved it at the theater. We'll get more into that. I know Kevin and Lacey, you'll be joining us. We might have a few other friendly faces here, but Kevin, we're getting invaded by a whole different comic universe here on True Believers.
Yeah, we felt that it looks like Gunn and crew are making a stab at doing a legitimate run with cohesion for the DCU, and it's we got a good start here with the Superman movie. And so we've decided to embrace it with True Believers, where our True Believers will also, of course, be discussing all MCU, of course, but we're also going to welcome just superhero movies in general to the discussion forum, including the DCU.
We are very excited here. And Kevin, are you wearing your Peacemaker outfit for that podcast?
I'm trying to find the helmet, but you know what? There's a lot to choose from, and Peacemaker is very possessive with them. We'll see.
Yeah, I know. No kidding. So, guys, this has been True Believers Ironheart season 1 reaction. Probably the only season we're going to get, but I want to thank my amazing co-hosts for joining in. I know this was a mixed bag, but I love your input. I love your energy as always. I cannot wait for Superman next week, and I'm excited for Fantastic Four.
I'm going to go watch it again before the podcast. I'll be fresh. So yeah,
there you go. Was that Lacey?
You're watching Superman again before the podcast?
Yeah, Superman. Yeah, I've seen it once, but I got to watch it again. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing it on Tuesday for the 4th time.
There you go. Lacey, I am putting you in charge of bringing toys for Crypto.
Nice.
With that, guys, thank you so much for listening. And for this edition of True Believers, Excelsior, and as always, make ours Marvel. We are out of here, guys.